I said I was hoping it wouldn't be a blowout, right? And it
Yep.
was the next worst thing to a blowout.
And what is that?
It was a game. UConn won, of course. Congratulations to them. 76-59 over San Diego State. It was a game where UConn got out to a solid double-digit lead, and it basically stayed there the rest of the game. I guess if people want to say it was a blowout because it was 16 points or 17 points ultimately, but Rod, it was like it just never was in question. San Diego State for a brief moment, and really it was about a moment, pulled within five.
Yeah,
but then UConn pushed it right back up right away. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was just no drama, no suspense, and it was kind of like a blowout, but it wasn't a full just throttling. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but it was still, it wound up being a 14-point loss, which is double digits. 17, I'm sorry. And they beat everybody by double digits. And so ultimately we got what we thought it would be. I thought last night, remember I said the spread was 7.5. I thought that was like, you want to pay off your college debt. That was the game to do it, Chris, because I just didn't think that they were going to be able to, to win that game, and that UConn would be better, and that's what we wound up getting. So I'm not totally surprised.
Do you think there are a lot of people talking now because UConn, they won every game by an average, in the tournament, they won every game by double figures. They won by an average of 20 points a game, which is the fourth highest in history since they went, to the 64 team field. Now it's even more than that. But in, 1985, do you think this makes them, as what people are asking, one of the all-time great teams?
No.
You thought about it for a moment, though.
I just thought about, I know we're great and quick to do that a lot, like everybody's the greatest thing since sliced bread or whatever. But the issue that I really have is the competition. I don't know. I just don't have the same feel for it, like, their road there. I get it. They dominated, which is what you're supposed to do if you're really a really good team compared to competition that's not. But no, I don't have that feel.
No, I'm with you. Look, if you want to say they had one of the great tournament runs, maybe. Like, you can get a little closer to that than you can to all-time great team. And we talked about it, and I don't want to harp on this because we've mentioned it before, but nowadays the best college-age players are in the NBA or the G League or now Overtime Elite. Right. And so years ago, Rob, yesterday before the game, they were showing some of these historic games. 1982, you had Michael Jordan, James Worthy, and Sam Perkins. All of them were top 5 picks. They were on the same college team. I mean, you think what we saw yesterday could compete with that?
Absolutely
no, and it's not their fault.
Right.
But, it's just the difference. The game has changed now. You had Christian Laettner, who, he didn't have a fantastic college or pro career.
No, he was one of the best college players ever. Player.
Absolutely. And he was a solid pro. He averaged about 18 points some years. And Grant Hill was on that
and
team.
he had a knuckle sandwich too from Jerry Stackhouse. So that's another story.
But Grant Hill and Christian Laettner on the same college team. There are even UConn teams, Rob, in 2004 when they won it. That team had 6 first-round picks on it, 4 lottery picks.
That's crazy.
Right, 99, you remember Rip Hamilton, of course, leading them to the championship, and they beat a top-seeded Duke team in the championship. So that's one reason. But Rob, let's just keep it in the present. This is why I don't believe, I think it's fallacious to call this an all-time great team. Number one, they were a 4 seed. How great were they if they were a 4 seed?
Well, I agree right out the box, yep.
They were ranked number 10 when the tournament started, 10th in the country. They were 13-7 in the Big East. The Big East only had 5 teams make the tournament. And UConn was 4th in the Big East. And so those are some of the reasons, Rob, they never beat a number one. You talked about the path there. They didn't beat a 1 or 2 seed.
Right.
They beat three number 5 seeds and a 13 seed.
And the path matters, Chris, right? When you take a look at somebody, like you go, man, they went through a rough road. They knocked off 2 number 1s, or they knocked off a 1, a 2, or 2 number 2, whatever it is. And they didn't have that. They had a grease path. It was easy. And I'm not knocking them. You got to play who's on the schedule. Yes.
I mean, good for UConn, 5th championship in the last 25 years, which is the most of any team. And, Rob, that leads me to my next point. I do think, look, the blue blood thing isn't official anyway, right? It's just kind of a designation that we give to the ultimate programs in the country. Right now, there's a feeling that 6 teams are in that group, Rob. Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, Indiana, and UCLA. I think UConn is without question a blue blood. I would have said it before last night's win. But now that you throw that in, and they got 5 championships in the last 25 years, which is more than any other team, Rob, to me, it's not even a question anymore.
I could not disagree with you more.
Wow.
They are not a blue blood because it's more than just the championships. I get it, Chris. They've won a lot. I got mad respect for UConn, but they've won it with 3 different coaches. It's a mismatch.
So you think that works against them?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And also when you talk about blue bloods, it's about long storied history about a program. UConn doesn't have that. They've won lately, don't get me wrong. But when you mention some of the other schools, you talk about legendary coaches, legendary programs that go beyond just modern day. Even if you want to go back to Kentucky.
Some of them aren't even modern day.
Adolf, what's his name? Adolf Rupp, right? Adolf Rupp, I'm sorry, who was at Kentucky. And, of course, you got Coach K and Dean Smith and all these other people. These are legendary coaching figures, and I think that's that adds into the blue blood criteria, not just winning a lot. If I don't know, Villanova's won a couple championships, right, Chris? They won, what'd they win? Florida won back-to-back championships. Nobody was ready to say, and I get it, 5 Florida, is not 2.
No. Right.
No, but that doesn't push you up. It's a combination of stuff to make you a blue blood. So I'm going to disagree and say UConn is a Johnny-come-lately. They don't have that kind of history, deep-rooted as some of the blue bloods we talk about, and I wouldn't count them as a blue blood.
I'm going to throw this out before we go to the listeners. I think 2 of the blue bloods, I'm sorry, Indiana, Rob, they're still a blue blood. That's like calling the Knicks like one of the NBA. Now, if you want to say they are a flagship franchise, I get all that.
No, they are. They are a flagship. Whether I know they haven't won, but they're
and I'm talking about in turn, like Indiana, Rob, hadn't won since 1987. And they really had a couple championships way back before you and I were born. And then Bobby Knight had the great run.
And Isaiah Thomas and Quinn. Who else? Quinn Buckner.
Well, Quinn Buckner had the only undefeated team. I think the last undefeated team, right in '76. Scott May, Quinn Buckner, and then Isaiah, and then Keith Smart. He won 3. They were outstanding. Nowadays, I mean, Indiana, Rob. I get it, the history, and you that's fair, but does anybody really think of them as a blue blood anymore?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair if you want to say you don't look at them or consider them a blue blood, but I just think it's the history of the program that's a part of that. And yes, they haven't won in a long time, since Moby Dick was a guppy, or since the ink was wet on the Louisiana Purchase. Right? I was going to say that.
How about UCLA? I mean, honestly, they won in '95. That's the last time they won, that was the first time in 20 years. I get Wooden. That's the greatest run ever in college basketball. It'll never be duplicated. But since then, they've won 1 championship.
All right, I got it. I think most people are going to be with me in that UConn's not a blue blood, and those schools, Chris,
I don't think
despite where they are and haven't won recently are still blue bloods. So I would love to hear people.